Question 266. A listing agent can be A seller's agent only, B. Buyer's agent only, C. Dual agent, D. None of the above. Correct answer is C. Dual agent. Listing agents are primarily seller representatives. However, they can become dual agents, representing both parties, with full disclosure and consent. This often happens when a buyer working with the agent seeks to purchase the listed property. To prevent inadvertent dual agency, which can occur through agent behavior and create implied buyer representation, agents must strictly adhere to agency disclosure regulations. Question 267. Which of the following most resembles the relationship between a broker and seller? A. Broker and salesperson, B. Trustee and beneficiary, C. Mortgager and mortgagee, D. Vendor and vendee. Correct answer is B. Trustee and beneficiary. A broker, when acting as a listing agent for a seller, has a fiduciary duty to the seller. This means the broker must act in the seller's best interests, with loyalty, confidentiality, and full disclosure. This relationship closely mirrors the fiduciary relationship between a trustee, who manages assets for another, and a beneficiary, who benefits from those assets. Broker and salesperson is an employer-employee relationship, not a fiduciary relationship in the same way. Mortgager and mortgagee is a debtor-creditor relationship, borrower and lender. Vendor and vendee is a seller-buyer relationship, which is a transactional relationship, not necessarily a fiduciary one. Question 268. For tax purposes, depreciation deductions are based on the A. Value of an asset over its useful life, B. Future contract rent, C. Physical life of a property, D. Actual life of the property. Correct answer is A. Value of an asset over its useful life. Rent is income, not a basis for depreciation. While the physical life of a property may be longer, the useful life, for tax purposes, is often shorter and based on IRS guidelines. The IRS uses set guidelines for useful life, not necessarily the actual life. Actual life of the property is too vague. The IRS uses set guidelines for useful life, not necessarily the actual life. How depreciation is calculated determines the depreciation deduction on a tax return in any one year. For tax purposes, depreciation is a way to deduct the cost of an asset over its useful life. The useful life is the estimated period of time that the asset will be used for business or income-producing purposes. The deductions are based on the asset's cost or basis, spread out over that useful life. Question 269. Which of the following can conduct escrow business? A. A foreign corporation, B. A real estate broker, C. An attorney, D. Any of the above. Correct answer is D. Any of the above. Foreign corporations can conduct escrow business if they meet the licensing and regulatory requirements of the state where they operate. In some states, real estate brokers can conduct escrow services, but they are often subject to specific regulations and limitations. And attorneys can conduct escrow business as part of their legal practice. Therefore, all of the options listed can conduct escrow business, provided they comply with the relevant legal and regulatory requirements. Question 270. In the U.S. Government Survey and Township System method of land description, townships are A. 5 miles in diameter, B. The length of the baseline meridian multiplied by its width, C. 36 square miles, D. The amount varies from county to county. Correct answer is C. 36 square miles. Townships are measured by sides, not diameter, and are 6 miles per side. While baselines and meridians are used in the system, this does not describe the size of a township. Townships are standardized across the system and do not vary by county. In the U.S. government survey system, land is divided into townships, which are square parcels of land measuring 6 miles on each side. Therefore, a township contains 36 square miles, 6 miles by 6 miles. Question 271. According to a deed of trust, the trustor is the person who A. lends the funds, B. signs the promissory note as its maker, C. extends credit, D. holds the funds in trust for the borrower. Correct answer is B. signs the promissory note as its maker. Trustor, borrower, is the person who borrows the money and pledges the property as security for the loan. They sign the promissory note, promising to repay the debt. They convey the naked legal title to the trustee. Beneficiary, lender, is the person or entity who lends the money. They hold the promissory note and are the recipient of the loan payments. Trustee, neutral third party, is a neutral third party, often a title company or escrow company, who holds the naked legal title to the property on behalf of the beneficiary until the loan is repaid. If the trustor defaults, the trustee has the power to initiate foreclosure proceedings on behalf of the beneficiary. Therefore, the trustor is the one who takes out the loan and signs the promissory note. Question 272. A purchase money mortgage refers to A. when a buyer borrows takes out a mortgage on the property being purchased to secure the loan. B. when a buyer gives the seller a mortgage on the property being purchased and pays the sale price in installment payments. C. a soft money mortgage. D. all of the above. Correct answer is D. all of the above. A. when a buyer borrows takes out a mortgage on the property being purchased to secure the loan. This is the most common understanding of a purchase money mortgage. The buyer obtains a loan from a third-party lender, like a bank or credit union, to finance the purchase of the property, and the property itself serves as collateral for the loan. B. when a buyer gives the seller a mortgage on the property being purchased and pays the sale price in installment payments. This is known as seller financing or owner financing. Instead of obtaining a loan from a traditional lender, the seller acts as the lender, and the buyer gives the seller a mortgage, or deed of trust, on the property. C. a soft money mortgage. Soft money often refers to a loan provided by a seller to a buyer as part of the purchase transaction. This aligns with the concept of seller financing described in option B. While soft money mortgage isn't as formal a term as purchase money mortgage, it describes a similar scenario within the context of a purchase. Therefore, all three options accurately describe different forms or aspects of a purchase money mortgage. Question 273. A real estate broker may act as an escrow holder, without having a California Department of Corporations, DOC, license, if the broker A. is a party to the transaction, B. has the consent of the other parties to do so, C. is performing an act for which a license is required, as the listing or selling broker, D. either A or C. Correct answer is D. either A or C. A real estate broker can act as an escrow holder without a Department of Corporations, DOC, license in two specific situations. A. as a party to the transaction. If the broker is directly involved as a principal in the transaction, e.g., buying or selling property for themselves, they can act as the escrow holder. C. is performing an act for which a license is required, as the listing or selling broker. When the broker is acting as the agent for one of the parties in the transaction, they can also act as the escrow holder. It is very important to remember that even though the broker is exempt from the DOC license, they still must follow all the regulations regarding escrow. Question 274. A homeowner deciding whether to add an outdoor patio to his home consults an appraiser. That appraiser's recommendation will be based on the principle of A. regression, B. progression, C. contribution, D. Substitution. Correct answer is C. Contribution. Principle of regression states that the value of higher valued properties tends to decrease when located near lower valued properties. Principle of progression states that the value of lower valued properties tends to increase when located near higher valued properties. Principle of substitution states that a buyer will pay no more for a property than the cost of an equally desirable substitute. Principle of contribution states that the value of any component of a property is determined by its contribution to the overall value of the property. In the context of the patio, the appraiser will assess how much the patio will add to the property's market value, which might be more or less than the actual cost of construction. The appraiser will look at how similar patios in the neighborhood have affected property values. It will help decide whether the value added by the patio is greater than the cost of building it. Question 275. A life estate whose duration is measured by the life of someone other than the estate holder is called a life estate pure autre vie, B. Junior life estate, C. Term tenancy for life, D. A life estate must be measured by the life of the holder. Correct answer is a life estate pure autre vie. Junior life estate and term tenancy for life are not as standard legal terms. A life estate must be measured by the life of the holder. While this is the most common form of life estate, a life estate pure autre vie is a recognized legal concept. Life estate pure autre vie is a French term meaning, for the life of another. It describes a life estate where the duration of the estate is measured by the life of someone other than the life tenant, the person holding the life estate. For example, Person A could grant Person B a life estate that lasts as long as Person C is alive.